Boom! Live, everybody, from our PRP production studios
You know what's
here in
weird?
St. Falls, New Jersey.
Looks a lot like our office.
It looks a lot like our office. That's because it is our office, guys. This is What Say You with Progress Realty Partners. My name is Dan Salonis.
I'm Adam Dickert.
That's what they call you. We get questions every week from investors throughout the country asking our opinion, different commercial real estate related topics, and we give our 2 cents. Together, that makes 4 cents. Not going to buy you a whole lot, but we do give our opinion on some of these issues, and we go live here on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and I think we'll get a contract pretty soon with MSNBC.
Yeah.
We're working on that still. Adam, still in the works?
Yeah. Last we heard, they said let it marinate. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're letting it marinate like a good steak. And I just want to point out, if you see the sticker right here, I love this. So for anyone who doesn't know, Adam does Thirsty Thursday pretty much every Thursday, different commercial real estate topics. And we have a good friend of ours who lives out in Michigan, and we mail each other beer back and forth. And our good friend Eric.
Legal.
Yeah, totally legal. Don't tell FedEx or USPS. He sent us these stickers, which I thought were hilarious. So I've been wearing mine today to show them off. So Eric, thank you for that. You're the man. Say hi to the boss and the brains, Tam, for us. But guys, we got 4 questions this week. 2 for me, 2 for Adam.
Yes.
We're gonna jump right back into this bad boy. So Adam, we're starting off. Shlomo from Maryland wants to know, what are your thoughts about having a church, a mosque, a synagogue, some type of place of prayer as a tenant in a multi-unit retail property? So Adam, what say you?
So Shlomo sent this over on LinkedIn a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the very short, straight to the point answer. It's going to be a no for me, dog. Taking that one from Randy Jackson. Not because I don't like religion. I'm Jewish. I think having a synagogue would be kind of cool in a weird sense. But there's a handful of reasons why we don't like them and why they're not the best, right? One, low-paying rent. You've never seen a church paying $30 a foot or any type of market rate for that matter, right? Second, the big S word. I'm not talking about sandwiches, Dan, even though it's lunchtime. I'm talking about synergy. There's no synergy to these things. People come in Sunday or Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever day it is, mosques every day, but like before the sun rises, I think. I'm not positive. There's just no synergy, right? They come in, they leave. You're not coming to church and then grabbing a sandwich and then going and getting groceries. Like, it's just not what people do. And if they do, it's one day a week. We want to help the whole rest of the center. We want to bring foot traffic. We want to have sales boosted for the other tenants by creating a good synergy and layout of the center. And another reason is just they take up a lot of space. Now you have a very low paying rent, taking up a lot of space in a low paying rent. It's just not the best idea if you really want to boost NOI. If you have an industrial flex property and it's a nice setting, yeah, we would entertain that. I don't think there's really anything wrong with that. You don't really need too much synergy for that. But in a retail property, which you want synergy and high rents and just foot traffic, it's just like a triple no.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think the biggest thing is that, you're not going to get traffic every day of the week. So I think there would be synergy. I'll actually disagree with you just for a moment, because I think there is synergy while they're there. Because I do think people, after they go to church, whatever, would go grocery shopping, would get something to eat. You can't fill up on the Eucharist. It's not all that much. So, maybe you do go grab a sandwich or something to eat. But like you said, they're only going to be there a couple times a week, assumingly. I know there are people that go to church every day and stuff, but in terms of full-blown masses, it would be a weird mix. It would be a no for me too. So we got 2 no's, and in our life, 2 strikes, you're out. So we're gonna go no for us.
Doesn't bode well for our after place, right?
Yeah, not so much.
Denying all the places of worship.
All right, do me the honors here, Adam.
All right, our boy Gino, sounds like he makes a hell of a cheesesteak if he's from Philly, but he's actually from Staten Island. And he wants to know if there's any red flags he should know about when reading leases. So, Mr. Daniel, what say you?
Yeah, no red flags. You're good. Just take it. Yeah, no. So, I mean, there's a bunch of red flags. Off the top of my head, I'll give a couple, and I'm going to be specific to retail, but some of the things, and I'll just give examples of what we've been seeing recently in deals that we've analyzed. For instance, if you have a guarantor on the lease, one thing that you want to check is there any type of runoff on the guarantee itself? Is it a limited guarantee? Maybe that they only guarantee 1 year's worth of rent should something happen, or perhaps that the guarantee actually runs off. Let's say they signed a 5-year lease. It might run off after year 2. That would be something that I would keep an eye out for. If you're dealing with common area maintenance, right, CAM reconciliations, does the tenant have a cap on what those reconciliations are? It's like we're looking at a deal right now, Virginia Beach, involving a grocery store, national grocery store, and they have a cap on not only annual increases in CAM expenses, but they only pay like 50% of the security. They pay certain percentage on this. I know for taxes, I think it's a base year tax reimbursement. So that would actually be another thing I would keep an eye out for is are the reimbursements on the full pro rata share of the property, or is it over just the base year, meaning the year they moved in, and they're going to reimburse for any dollar to their proportion over what it initially was when they moved in. And then a couple other things, something like, who's actually signing the lease. You think you have a national tenant, and then you get down to it, and it's, national tenant XYZ of Virginia LLC, and you're not getting the parent company. That would be something, I would look out for as well. And also like notice periods. So let's say the tenant has an option, a 5-year renewal option. How much notice do they have to give you as the landlord on whether or not they're going to exercise that option, meaning they're going to accept that option and stay at the property? We like to minimally see 180 days, 6 months, because if they decline that option and they say we're moving somewhere else, at least you have some time to start marketing the space and potentially backfill it with a new tenant. A lot of times you'll see that, national tenants, they have shorter notice periods, 90 days. And then termination clauses, I'll cover off at that, but termination clauses would be another one. Do they have a termination clause? Like, for instance, we have in our retail site in North Carolina, the government, and they're famous for this. Any type of government lease normally has some type of termination clause because it's dependent on the funding for that location. So they may have like a 60-day window where they can terminate their lease and give you a 60-day notice. And then you might, be scrambling to a certain point to bring in a new tenant. So those are a couple things: CAM reimbursements, the cap on them, the guarantor, any type of runoff on guarantees, termination clauses, notice periods. Those are all things, and there's more. If we had more time, I would try to hammer out a couple more. But off the top of my head, those are a couple of the ones that come to mind for me right away. So you got to be careful, reading these leases, making sure that you're really getting to the bottom of, what the true story is, for sure.
You nailed it.
I'm like a hammer.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, for you, we got our boy Lawrence from Delaware. Should I hire a management company for the retail property I'm buying? What say you, Adam?
It depends. Very situational. Two ends of the spectrum. We're going to cut down all the gray areas in the middle, right? Let's say you have a smaller retail property, handful of tenants, some mom and pops, really not a whole bunch of capital expenditures or CAM expenses that would fall under that. One, how local are you, right? If something happens 2 o'clock in the morning, the toilet's leaking, coming through the ceiling, whatever it may be. Who are they calling? If they're calling you, are you able to get out there? Are you actually being able to be efficient and productive? Or you have to drive 2 hours to be out there? I mean, in any situation, you want to be local to the property. So whether you're the management company or you're just the go-to guy, you need to have boots on the ground. Boots on the ground is definitely needed in any asset, not just retail. But also opportunity costs, right? Are you out there wheeling, dealing, doing 10, 15 deals a year? Is real estate kind of like a side business, more of a passive opportunity for you? If it is, you probably shouldn't be managing your own assets. It's going to be very, very time management intensive. If you're dealing with CAM reconciliations and reimbursements at the end of the year, are you qualified? Do you have the wherewithal and the time to go through and do every single expense, see who's allocated to what expense, what I owe each tenant back, or what each tenant owes me back? You sitting there bidding out each little vendor, appealing your taxes, on top of the leasing agent, like white on rice. There's a lot that goes into property management. So in short, if this is your full-time job, if you are local, if you have the time for it and the financial wherewithal to go ahead and do it efficiently and effectively, it's never bad to manage your own property. But if you don't have the time, if you're far from the property and it just sounds like a headache to you, any of the things I just mentioned, you got to hire somebody.
Yeah, great answer. And I'll follow up your answer, Adam, with another question. And that is, for those who who aren't as familiar, like what's a normal amount to pay a property management company? Like, let's assume that it's, commercial property, not like a 2-family residential home, because those management fees are much higher. Let's call it like an actual commercial property, multiple retail tenants, multiple office tenants, whatever the case is. What's like standard?
Yeah, so anywhere from 3 and 4% is usually industry standard, right? If it's a smaller property and the NOI doesn't really support having a property management company at that level, all local tenants, more of a, you're not hiring like a CBRE or a Cushwake or any of those groups or JLL to manage it. You might be looking at closer to 5%. But also be careful.
Not to cut you off, but when you say 3 to 4, 5%, of what?
Great question. Of the effective gross income. So it's all the income, including any type of reimbursements, your overall revenue of the property. If you're making $1 million that year, all the income considered, they're going to be charging you $30,000. But in that, Dan, with the 3, 4, or 5%, right? They always have these little clauses where if they have like these random expenses that always hit you, it's never very straightforward. So they have to go out there after hours, right? They call you at 6 o'clock at night. Ricky Ticky Bobby Wobby goes out there. They have to check on a mouse trap, whatever it is, right? They might be charging $80 bucks, $100 an hour to drive out there. But this is why it's also important to be local. If they have to drive an hour, they're there for an hour. They got to drive an hour back. Now you're getting charged for 3 hours of driving time. You're paying for these guys gas and coffee money. But 3, 4, or 5% is pretty standard. Some of the properties we look for more institutional, a little more national brand recognition in there is usually typically 3%.
I mean, phenomenal answer, buddy.
There's only one answer. That's the right answer.
All right. Actually, before I get to the fourth question, we did get a question from my good friend John Mazzi. Let me throw that up there.
Oh.
Many sellers are requiring a proof of funds. And John, how you doing? Good to see you. As part of the offer, excluding a tax account, where else would we obtain one? So I'm assuming you just mean a proof of funds. I mean, we just normally give them a bank statement, stock account. Something as simple as that. They just want to see, liquid funds. How much do you have available? So I don't know that you even need, like audited financials. I would just show them a bank account for the proof of funds.
Or even a 1099 is it's not really full proof of funds, but 1099, if you have substantial income, then it helps sway the decision in your favor, or maybe not in your favor.
Yeah, and I know, like, we tell a lot of guys who are just getting into real estate, especially when you're buying smaller deals, like that's a great way to stand out with your offer if you feel like it's going to be pretty competitive from a bidding process. When you submit your offer, even if they're not requiring one or asking for it, I mean, if you have proof of funds to show, I would just put that in with your offer. And that way you're showing them, listen, I'm a serious buyer. I'm ready to go. Take my offer. Let's rock and roll. Let's get this deal done. Because there are a lot of guys who just throw out offers, who are just kicking tires and they're not really serious. So, it's a good way to kind of separate yourself from other potential buyers. But yeah, I mean, just something as simple as a bank account statement or, stock account statement. I mean, it's never been an issue for us. I think anyone who pushes back on that, just a little bit of a jokester.
Yeah, and also, John, to follow up with that, an REO schedule, right? Real estate owned schedule. It literally just lists you have 4 properties. Here's the address. Here's the purchase price you purchased them for here's the close date, and maybe if you have an outstanding note on them. That also kind of goes hand in hand, at least for us, with our proof of funds. Lets people know that you're a serious buyer. You're not just some guy with two nickels in his pocket rubbing together trying to buy $1 million property. An REO schedule helps as well.
Yeah, and even just to build off that point with the REO schedule, it's not just important to show you own real estate, but like let's say you're buying a retail center. A lot of times buyers are going to want to see that you own other similar types of retail centers.
Yep.
Or other retail properties in general. Maybe they don't have to be similar in terms of the tenant mix, but that's important because to put yourself in the seller's shoes, unless he's only got one foot. If you're selling it to somebody, who's not familiar with how to manage that type of property, or who's just not familiar with what questions to ask, then a lot of times things can pop up in due diligence that they're unfamiliar with. It could really tie up the deal, and a lot of time can be wasted. So from a seller standpoint, a lot of times, highest price is not necessarily what's most important. A lot of people know this. It's surety of close. So the more experience of a buyer you have that knows what questions to ask, how to properly underwrite the deal, understands what issues may arise. A lot of times that type of buyer, even at a lower purchase price number, can be awarded the deal because they may have a higher surety of close. But good question, John. Thanks for typing that in. All right, then, Adam, we got one more.
Jerry from Florida. Mr. Daniel, would you rather buy a property with longer leases in a less populated area or shorter leases in a more populated area?
I'm going to go with the latter. Shorter leases, more populated area. And the reason is pretty simple because even if you have shorter leases, if you have a much more densely populated area, the chances of you being able to backfill those spaces, should any of those short-term lease tenants leave, is going to be a much higher probability than if you're in a very rural, one of these areas that you see all these Dollar Generals, right? 5,000 people within 5 miles or something crazy like that.
They have more cows than they do people in some of these towns.
Yeah, right. So I think you also have to factor in what is your investment strategy with the property, though. Is it a long-term hold? Is it a short-term hold? That could sway your decision one way or the other. But without knowing all the intricacies of who would be buying it, et cetera, I would always much rather buy a property that has multiple tenants with short-term leases in a highly densely populated area. Because like I said, the likelihood of someone backfilling that space, if you have a good location, increasingly higher than in a rural area where you don't really have a lot of people, a lot of populations, a lot less businesses. So I would go, shorter lease term, higher population. Final answer.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's like the epitome, like we're huge on demographics, right? Growth patterns, incomes, density is definitely number one. And it's the epitome of like, if you build it, they will come, right? It's already built. How many people are going to be coming? So surround yourself by dense areas and you should probably be better off than the other situation.
Right. I was going to make a joke, but it was going to be so inappropriate, so I'm going to hold back. All right, guys, listen, before we're done, I want to remind everybody, if you're interested in investing in commercial real estate, but let's say you're busy, right? You're a doctor, you're an attorney, you're a broker. We work with a lot of brokers. You're anybody with a sizable amount of money, aka you're an accredited investor. If you want to invest in commercial real estate that gives you direct ownership, dependable cash flow, while you can remain 100% passive, check us out. PRP.us is our website. Progress Realty Partners is the name. And also, if you need debt and you're not talking to Kathy Anderson from Progress Capital, you're probably a little bit of a dunce, in all honesty. You might have some brain cells that are missing. So, guys, that was What Say You. We're Progress Realty Partners. I'm Dan Salonis.
I'm Adam Dickert.
We'll catch you guys next week when we got 4 more questions, 4 more answers. And until then, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend. Go to our website, prp.us.